Today I want to tell you about something strange that someone found in 1973. His name was Mark Granovetter. He was a sociologist, and he'd done something simple. He interviewed people about how they actually found their jobs. The conversation that led to the introduction, that led to the offer. So what he heard was strange. When people told their stories, the contact who'd given them the lead usually wasn't a close friend. It was someone they saw occasionally, a former coworker, a friend of a friend, someone they hadn't seen in years, who ostensibly lived on the edge of their lives. So the pattern was strong enough to publish. So he published The Strength of Weak Ties. And he called these connections weak ties because the paper that named them is now also one of the most cited papers in the history of the social sciences. And the question is, why those people, the ones on the edges, mattered so much? Well, to understand the answer, picture your life as a network. The people you're closest to, your family, your best friends, your partner, are all densely connected. And they know each other. They talk to each other. Information moves between them quickly because the paths are short and the trust is high. So there's your strong tie cluster. It's where you feel known. It's where you go for support when something hard happens. But here's the thing. Because they're so connected to each other, they mostly know what you know. So if you hear about a job opening, your close friends probably heard about it too. If one of them did, the others did within hours. The information saturates the cluster fast, and then it stops because the cluster is closed in on itself. Strong ties give you that depth, but for reach into a new territory, a new subject, a new opportunity, well, you're going to need something else. So weak ties are different. A weak tie is someone you're connected to quite loosely. You see them rarely, you don't share a daily life, but they live in a different cluster than your own. They have their own dense network of close friends, close family members, their own conversations, and their own information. And that means that they know things that you don't. When information travels across a weak tie, it's bridging news from a place you couldn't have reached on your own. A job opening at a company none of your close friends worked at. Could be an idea from a field you don't even read in. A person worth, knowing who lives outside your immediate world. So that's what Granovetter found. Weak ties aren't peripheral. The ones that bridge between clusters connect you to information that would otherwise stay out of reach. So look at any large network, and this is the pattern you're going to see. Dense clusters connected by sparse bridges. The dense clusters are where intimacy lives, and the bridges are how new things move between them. And here's where it gets interesting. Remove a strong tie from inside a cluster, and the cluster usually reroutes around it. Other connections compensate, and the information continues to flow. Remove the right weak tie, and you can cut one region of the network off from another. The bridge between clusters are structurally rare. Then this means that each one is carrying more of the load than it looks like. So the acquaintance who introduced you to your partner, the former colleague who mentioned the role at their new company, the person you met once at a conference who later sent you the paper that changed how you think. Well, each one was a weak tie. Each one was doing something structurally for your life that's really easy to miss because it doesn't feel close. But this doesn't mean strong ties matter less. They matter differently. Strong ties keep you held, while weak ties keep you reaching. Most people underweight their weak ties because they feel less close, but the structure of your network suggests that the people on the edges are often doing some of the most important work. Maintaining a weak tie costs almost nothing. A message every 6 months, a coffee maybe, when you're in the city visiting. These small gestures keep bridges intact, and the bridges are how new things reach you. So there's one important refinement worth knowing. In 2022, researchers from MIT, Stanford, and Harvard ran a large-scale study tracking job mobility across millions of LinkedIn users. They found that moderately weak ties tended to be more effective for finding new work than either very strong ties or the very weakest ones. So the sweet spot sat in the middle. people you know enough to actually reach, but not so well that they share all your information. So Granovetter's basic idea inside, well, it held up, but the relationship isn't perfectly linear. Granovetter was studying job networks specifically, but the same structural pattern shows up across other complex systems. The brain is organized this way, densely connected local regions with sparse long-range connections that integrate them. So are ecosystems, tight predator-prey relationships within habitats, rare migration corridors between them. So are economies, dense local markets with weaker trade ties carrying goods between regions. The same architecture, dense clusters connected by sparse bridges, keeps appearing because it's how complex systems hold themselves together while staying open enough to change. So, the takeaway, your weak ties are doing similar structural work for you that long-range connections do for those other systems. They keep you connected to the parts of reality you couldn't otherwise reach. This is the first video on this channel, and we're going to keep doing this, taking the structures that shape your life without you seeing them and making them visible. Thanks for watching. If this was useful, please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.